Hello everypony, my name is Lyrie Sammy-Breve, and Season 5 is one of my personal favorite seasons of Friendship is Magic, mainly because it was the first one that I got to see unfold in front of my very eyes. There is a lot to love about this season. The episodes were rather memorable. This was the first season with the Cutie map, which would eventually lead us to exploring more of Equestria. We got introduced to a few new characters, most notably being Starlight Glimmer, who has been a fan favorite since day one and the true element of forgiveness. I will die on this hill, fight me. And we also got to see build up for the season finale throughout the season. Speaking of the season finale, that's what this video is about. And before I continue, let me say, this episode makes absolutely zero sense. Allow me to explain. As explained by Zecora, time is a river where even the tiniest of changes can lead to a cascade of effects downstream. Building off that, let's say that Starlight creates a dam to stop the flow of time and direct it to several other streams. Makes sense, right? Well, I might be entirely wrong. You see, we get to see a total of 7 alternative timelines that could have happened had Rainbow Dash never performed the Sonic Rain Boom. They're all pretty interesting, and we get to see what each of the villains would have done with Equestria had they won in their specific episode. Here's the thing, they all conflict with each other. But I'm getting far too ahead of myself. Let's first establish something rather simple. Twilight and Spike get sent back to Season 5, Episode 25 after Twilight gave her speech. We know this because the time of day never changes, as pointed out by Twilight when they got sent back to Nightmare Moon's timeline where it is eternally night. So using this information, we can set up a timeline of events for how each timeline happens. We'll start with King Sombra's. According to Applejack, when the Crystal Empire returned, it brought King Sombra back with it. That part is entirely normal, it happens in our timeline too. However, where it differs is the part where King Sombra took over the Crystal Empire because Twilight and her friends couldn't stop it. The Crystal Empire returns in Season 3, Episode 1, but already I was facing discrepancies with the other villains like Queen Chrysalis, Discord, and especially Nightmare Moon. So let's just start over with Nightmare Moon. Nightmare Moon returns in Season 1, Episode 1, making her return the earliest possible event in the timeline, and yet we can assume that Celestia wins the duel more often than not based on the fact that only one of the timelines is night. But as I was trying to make sense of this timeline, I thought of another discrepancy, that being how did the Flame and Flam timeline even happen? If Celestia had won the duel, beat Discord, which is another thing that may or may not happen based on the fact that we get to see an alternate reality where Discord rules Equestria, what would catapult Flim and Flam into so much power to where they're demolishing Ponyville by the end of Season 5? It all just makes no sense. It's unexplainable, and I was at a complete and total loss. I didn't know what to do or how to explain this weird episode. So I started digging and looking. I rewatched a few relevant episodes, rewatched the entirety of the Season 5 finale again and again, trying to see something, anything I had missed. I knew this wasn't the first time this show has played around with time travel, so I desperately rewatched It's About Time and tried going from there, but these were two entirely different situations. One was a paradox that covers a few minutes, and the other was some pony influencing the timeline to change the course of events years prior. Fittingly enough, I was stuck in an endless paradox where I was setting up a timeline where all the events happened, but there was always that one result that entirely conflicted with it happening, thus rendering it senseless. How does Nightmare Moon only beat Celestia 1 out of 7 times? How does Celestia make it past a Canterlot wedding when she's captured by changelings in time for the war against the Crystal Empire? I was confused and was starting to accept that this just didn't make any sense, and I would have to accept that I couldn't explain it no matter how hard I tried. By this point, I was seriously lost and just needed a break. So, a break I took. To unwind from my failure to make sense of any of this, I decided to play Undertale, a game that I am quite fond of. While playing, I remembered how much fun I used to have in the fandom. I was really invested around 5 to 7 years ago. Eventually, this led me down a rabbit hole where I revisited many things, one of which was a Game Theory's video series on WD and Gaster, in which there is a segment in the first video where MatPat explains what fun is. Fun in Undertale stands for Fluctuating Universe Number. What it means is that whenever you start up a new game of Undertale, the game will randomly pick a number between 1 and 100, which dictates what events may or may not occur throughout your run. Perhaps the most popular is Gaster appearing behind a mysterious door in Waterfall. That's when it hit me. Maybe I could apply this to my current predicament. So I returned to this video with a brand new idea, that idea being variables. One of these variables is Celestia beating Nightmare Moon, which we already know doesn't always happen, and just like that I was already coming up with a brand new timeline ready for a video. but then I ran into a lot of the same issues I had ran into before. By this point, I was ready to call it quits again. At least I could say I tried to do the impossible, right? Then I scrolled down on my channel to an edit I had made about a year ago of this very same episode. While I was rewatching it, I saw it, the detail that changes everything. I'll play the full scene for you and you can try to catch it. Feel free to rewind as many times as you want. Did you see it? Well, in case you didn't, it's Princess Luna. Right there, in a clown wig and makeup no less. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Why would Luna being here be so significant? Well, up until this point, I was assuming that when Celestia beat Nightmare Moon, she sends Luna right back to the moon. Well, here's the thing. I was half right. Allow me to explain. In some timelines, she does send Luna to the moon, but in others, she doesn't. This was a major breakthrough and my eureka moment. It's just like Undertale and Celestia has the option of fight or mercy. In the King Sombra timeline, she picks the mercy option. We know this because in a Canterlot wedding, Luna is not present, meaning that when Chrysalis takes over the wedding, Luna isn't captured and can still mount a resistance and win back Equestria just in time for the Crystal Empire's return and consequently the war with King Sombra. Meanwhile, in the Chrysalis timeline, Celestia picks the fight option and sends Luna off to the moon, meaning there's no pony to save her when she's captured in the Canterlot wedding. According to Zecora, the Changelings took over not long ago. This was at the end of Season 5, well after a Canterlot wedding. What was taking them so long? The answer is King Sombra, and we can assume that Chrysalis eventually won the war with the momentum they had from Shining Armor's love. In the Nightmare Moon timeline, Nightmare Moon wins. Simple as that. Moving on. Now here's where I got stumped. The Discord timeline. We know that Celestia picks Mercy, but the thing that stumped me was how did Discord win over the two? That's when the fun value came into the picture. Discord is not stupid, and unlike most villains, he is aware of the power that the elements of harmony possess. We know this based on his reaction at the end of the Season 2 premiere when he's about to be turned to stone. So I called back to what my 8-year-old self would have said, and what I came up with is deceptively simple. Are you ready? This isn't going to be some big reveal or anything, it's actually pretty obvious. Okay, here it goes. Discord can teleport, so why doesn't he just do that? Allow me to answer that. In a sense, Discord just got bad luck and got a bad seed where he doesn't react in time to teleport away. Let's say that the Discord timeline is a 3 on the fun value, and every other timeline is a 1 or 2 where he doesn't react in time. I cannot tell if I sound genius or completely insane. On a totally unrelated note, I'd like to present this scene from Better Call Saul.
That's crazy. Crazy hasn't even started.
Now let's talk about Tyrek, and if you thought my Discord idea was crazy, you don't even want to know my idea about Tyrek. Bear with me for a moment. Celestia spares Luna, the two defeat Discord with the elements of harmony because Discord got a bad seed and didn't react in time. A Canterlot wedding happens, Celestia is captured, and Luna saves the day with her resistance. King Sombra returns, Celestia, Luna, and the rest of Equestria all struggle against him, so in an act of desperation, they release Discord, which does the trick against King Sombra. However, Discord, being the lover of chaos that he is, comes into contact and partners with Tyrek, just like how he did in the Season 4 finale. This would eventually lead to Tyrek destroying everything in his path. Don't start commenting about how insane I am yet, I am still not done. The Flim and Flam timeline was actually kind of simple. It's just the King Sombra timeline, except Mayor made the decision to give them permission to demolish all of Ponyville. Again, fun value. And finally, the timeline where nothing is left. This one stumped me too. I was confused on how exactly we got here, but then I had a thought. These are violent, evil, psychopathic tyrants and none of them get along, so we can assume that any number of events happened and it eventually led to this catastrophic event where nothing survived. So, where do we go from here? So, how do we solve all this? I've heard the idea of Starlight going back and trying to fix each of the timelines more than once, but honestly, I think it'd be better if we just let it all play out. Apart from the last one, yeah, Starlight might have to intervene there because there's gonna be nothing left if she doesn't. But outside of that, I don't think Starlight, or any pony for that matter, should get involved in other timelines. Here's why. Destiny seems to be quite the presence in this show, and in every single one of the other timelines, the rest of the main 6 all have their cutie marks, meaning they eventually earn them. I don't think every pony realizes just how big of a step in the right direction that actually is. I've always wondered about the King Sombra timeline specifically, thinking about how the main 6 would eventually meet, become good friends again, and defeat King Sombra. I'm optimistic about that happening, albeit a lot later. They eventually got their cutie marks, but just later. To me, that's a sign that fate is inevitable, and it's coming, perhaps sooner than any of the villains would think. That's all I have for this video though. I've been Lyrie Semi-Brief, hope you enjoyed, goodbye every pony.